My wife's text arrived at 7:14 in the morning, while I was standing in the security line at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, boarding pass in hand, and a carry-on packed for 2 weeks in Europe. I read it twice. Change of plans. You're staying home. The kids want their real dad at the ceremony. Don't make this about you. I stared at those words until the TSA agent had to ask me twice to step forward. Their real dad. Not me. Not the man who had been there every single morning for 4 years, paid the mortgage, drove Caden to soccer practice every Saturday, and sat through every one of Lily's school plays. Not the man who had completely rearranged his entire life to make room for a family that wasn't biologically his. As if I had never existed, as if those 4 years were nothing more than a convenient placeholder to be discarded the moment something more emotionally appealing came along. I stepped out of the security line, found a seat near the windows overlooking the tarmac, and sat there while planes lifted off into the grey Seattle sky. By the time I stood up, I had made my decision, not in blind fury, but in perfect, deliberate clarity. If I was not her children's real father, then I would stop behaving like one immediately, completely, and without warning. My name is Nathan Caldwell. I'm a 37-year-old senior systems architect and principal asset manager based in Seattle, Washington. I build enterprise-level infrastructure and manage a real estate portfolio I started building in my 20s. When I married Amanda Hargrove 3 years ago, I wasn't a man who needed saving. I was doing just fine. But love doesn't ask for credentials. We met at a youth technology fundraiser, talked for hours, and clicked instantly. Early on, she told me about her 2 children, Caden, then 8, and Lily, 6. Their biological father, Derek Weston, was an inconsistent ex-husband who made promises he rarely kept. I didn't run. Instead, I learned how to make Caden's specific sourdough grilled cheese to avoid his texture issues. I tested the house smoke detector every month at 2 p.m. on Sundays, so Lily wouldn't be afraid of the alarm. I showed up every time Derek failed to. When Caden's soccer team made the regional playoffs, I took the day off to drive 4 hours round trip to watch a game in the rain. When Lily broke her arm on the playground and Amanda was stuck in a meeting, I held her hand in the pediatric ER while they set the bone. Derek sent a text. I genuinely believed the kids saw the difference. We got married 18 months after we started dating. At the reception, Derek showed up uninvited. Amanda's mother let him in, and he spent nearly an hour charming guests before walking over, putting an arm around my shoulder, and saying loudly, "Thanks for taking care of my kids, man." Like I was a babysitter, like I was hired staff. Amanda laughed it off that night, saying Derek just didn't know how to handle the situation, and I let it go. I shouldn't have. For 2 years, we built a good life. I refinanced the house, dropped our monthly payment by over $400, set up college savings accounts for both kids with automatic monthly contributions, and paid for Caden's competitive soccer fees and Lily's dance classes. I didn't keep a ledger. They were my family. But Derek slowly resurfaced. He got a job managing a restaurant in Bellevue, got a place of his own, and started making child support payments. I thought stability from their father was a positive thing. What I failed to realize was how Derek's reappearance was being framed in the background, positioning him as the true parent and me as a financial convenience. Caden started quoting Derek's sports opinions, and Lily went back to calling him Daddy after calling me Nathan for 2 years. 6 months before that fateful morning at the airport, I planned a 4th anniversary trip to Europe, London, Paris, and the coast of Portugal. I spent over $9,000 organizing every detail, and my mother agreed to stay with Caden and Lily. 3 days before departure, Amanda dropped a bombshell. Derek's restaurant was hosting a minor regional culinary event. He had been nominated for an award, and he wanted the kids there. It fell on our first week in Europe. I told Amanda clearly that we had planned this trip for months. The kids would be well cared for by their grandmother, and Derek could include them during his regular parenting time. She said she'd think about it. I assumed we were aligned. Then came the text at the gate. I didn't throw a tantrum, nor did I send an emotional reply. Instead, I opened my banking app and began aligning my actions with the reality I had just been given. I paused the automatic transfers to both kids' college savings accounts. I cancelled the upcoming quarterly auto payments for Caden's travel soccer league and Lily's dance studio. I called my property manager to list an available rental unit on Capitol Hill, booked a flight to Portland to stay with my close friends Brendan and Caroline, and walked away from the terminal. My phone blew up with 14 unread messages from Amanda as the hours passed. Her tone shifted from asking if my flight updated to accusing me of being immature and ridiculous. I ignored every single one. That evening over dinner in Portland, Caroline gently asked if I thought I had overreacted. I thought about 4 years of showing up, the thousands of dollars invested, and holding a terrified little girl's hand in a hospital while her biological father sent a text message. No, I said. I don't think I did. On my 3rd day in Portland, my mother called from my house in Seattle. Amanda had returned a day early from Derek's event, panicked and tearful, while my mother quietly managed the household. When I explained what happened, my mother paused, absorbingly echoed the phrase, "Their real dad," and asked how she could support me. She didn't offer fake neutrality. She chose my side while ensuring the kids were properly cared for, validating that I had been a genuine father to them. I spent 11 days in Portland, working remotely and consulting with my corporate attorney, Patricia. She confirmed that while the college funds were established in the kids' names, I had full authority to halt future contributions. My personal real estate portfolio remained entirely mine, while the marital house was joint property. I also spoke with a mutual friend, George, who offered a lingering truth. The problem with being the reliable one is that people stop noticing reliability. They only notice when it's gone. During those 11 days, Amanda called 11 times. I answered twice. The first time, she cried, claiming she panicked and that the text came out wrong. I simply told her I was honoring her instruction not to make her children's real father about me. The second time, she asked if our marriage was over. I admitted I didn't know yet. I missed Caden's bold sports debates and Lily's endless commentary on her daily life, but I was not willing to return unconditionally without structural clarity. When I finally drove back to Seattle on a Tuesday afternoon, I met Amanda in the kitchen. Before she could speak, I laid out everything clearly. I pointed out how Derek's resurfacing had systematically eroded my role into that of a financial engine. I explained that pausing the college funds and extracurricular fees was not a punishment for the kids, but the direct consequence of being told I wasn't their father. If she wanted those support systems restored, we needed to define what our family actually was. Amanda broke down and admitted the truth. She hadn't said it out of malice, but out of deeply buried panic. She feared that if she allowed the kids to grow too close to me, and Derek suddenly decided to step up, it would create chaos and resentment. Her insecurity had driven her to amplify Derek's sparse presence, while minimizing my constant dedication. That's a therapy conversation, not a marriage conversation, I told her. I am either their father in the full sense of the word, or I am a man who made very expensive mistakes and needs to walk away. She looked me in the eye and agreed. You're their father. You have been from the beginning. When Caden and Lily arrived home from school, Lily dropped her backpack and sprinted across the kitchen to tackle me in a hug. Caden played it cool like any 12-year-old, asking why I had been in Portland for complicated work stuff, before asking if we could watch the upcoming Sounders game together. Looking at them in that ordinary Tuesday moment, I realized exactly what had been at stake. We immediately committed to weekly couples therapy with a counselor named Dr. Renee Obasi. In those sessions, we unraveled years of unspoken dynamic issues. Amanda confronted her lingering fear of relying on a man who might be replaced, while I realized I had built my fatherhood so quietly and efficiently that I never explicitly demanded my role be formally recognized and respected. As Dr. Obasi put it, we both had decided caring was enough without checking if the other person could actually see it. 3 months later, Derek arrived at the house to drop off a backpack Lily had left at his apartment. It was the first time we had spoken since our wedding reception. Before he could step inside, I met him at the door and laid down clear boundaries. I told him straight out that I had no interest in erasing his biological connection to his children, but as the man living in the house, who showed up for every emergency, playoff, and report card, I was not a temporary placeholder. I made it clear that if anyone in the family was confused about who the real parent was going forward, I would walk away, and everyone would lose something that couldn't be replaced. Derek digested the statement, nodded, and conceded. Fair. That's fair. When Lily ran downstairs asking which dad had stopped by, I told her it was Derek, but added that I had reserved the living room so we could watch a movie together. She picked the film, barreled past me toward the remote, and normal life resumed. Shortly after, I reinstated the monthly college contributions, catching up on the missed deposits through a separate transfer, making a point that my support was a conscious choice rather than an exploited obligation. I restored Caden's soccer fees, renewed Lily's dance classes, and took Amanda on our rescheduled trip to Portugal the following spring. On our last evening in Lisbon, sitting on a terrace overlooking the glowing city, Amanda apologized again, not just because I had been hurt, but because she finally understood the profound weight of what she had done. Being a real father isn't defined by a blood test. It's defined by who changes the diapers at 3 in the morning, who sits in pediatric emergency rooms, who drives through the rain for regional sports games, and who checks the smoke detectors on Sunday afternoons so a little girl isn't afraid. Biological ties are facts, but fatherhood is a deliberate choice made every single day. When I stepped out of that airport security line and took control of my boundary, I wasn't giving up on my family. I was demanding to be seen as an essential part of it. Sometimes the most powerful thing a man can do is stop absorbing slights in silence and refuse to be reliably present for people who treat his presence as optional. Our family is complicated, revised, and honestly acknowledged today, not because of shared genetics, but because we continuously choose to show up.